special edition Saturday night. Boy, wasn't expected to be out this or come out this early. Eric Lopez alongside Victor Anderson. We just saw Texas absolutely destroy the Florida Gators. So bad that was a beatdown, Vic, that the 1995 Fiesta Bowl between Florida and Nebraska was a nail biter compared to this one.
Man, that was I wasn't expecting us to be on live at 9 Eastern.
I'm eating my food. I'm eating my dinner. And it's like, Vic's like, we got to go. I'm like, oh, man.
Yep. And I mean, we had the same situation, ironically enough, 6 days ago with Stanford ruling LSU to punch the final ticket to the World Series. So this shouldn't be anything new to you, sir.
Well, I wasn't expecting a game to finish before 9 Eastern. But coming up, we're going to break down where we're at the World Series. Texas and Oklahoma are a win away from a collision in the championship series. Stanford and UCLA will play in the very last Pac-12 game on Sunday night. Alabama and Florida will play in the SEC, game on Sunday. We got a couple of special guests. We're hoping to have Jenna Becerra and Shelley Carlin at some point later in the show to talk about UCLA and Stanford. And we got a special guest. We've talked about offense and Texas, the number 2 offense in the country. Yes. Well, we have a guest, Victor, that has the number 1 offense in the sport, right?
As a matter of fact, we do, and she is joining us now here on our In the Circle Live special. Of course, we're talking to Miami University head coach Kareem Kumar joining us here on In the Circle Saturday night. Coach, thank you for the time. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good. I think you're the perfect person to ask. We just saw Texas's onslaught on Florida. What stood out to you about that Texas offense as somebody that has his own explosive offense? Texas is as good as anybody. They're right there with you.
Yeah, I mean, Rothrock's an amazing pitcher, but she made some mistakes, and they made her pay for it, right? So good hitting teams do that, and Texas took full advantage, I think. You know, she's pitched a lot of innings, and when that happens, so you can't leave it anywhere near the plate against an offense like Texas.
And Eric kind of brought up a little bit earlier when we were discussing it, how Florida was going to rely heavily on Rock until her arm fell off. And the fact that Texas got to her so early and Coach Walton pulled her to put in Ava Brown, were you surprised at how quickly he made that hook to take Rockcroft out of the game?
No, I think they had her number pretty quickly, and they were barreling her up. So what you have to do is give your offense a chance, and I thought he was trying to do that, not get too deep in the hole too quickly. So I think I would have done that when you have 2 aces on your staff. I think you don't if you only have 1, but I think he made the right decision.
Mentioned that Rothrock made some mistakes. What mistakes did you see that they made that made him pay with Texas's offense?
The ball was a little plated in the middle, and that's sometimes. That's every pitcher, no matter how great you are going to make mistakes, and it's just if people capitalize on it is when people see it, and that's what happened. And I think she was just a little bit too over the plate, too much white. And you can't do that against Texas. She did a really great job against Oklahoma State the day before, hitting her spots, and it was moving. So I think that was a little bit of what happened.
Well, now Florida's got a quick turnaround to play Alabama. What do you think about that turnaround? Is it good in a way that they get this done quick? And it wasn't your night. You moved forward. You pulled her, so you should have energy for her. What do you make of this Florida turnaround against Alabama?
I don't know. I'm kind of confused why the loser bracket winner has the extra.
Amen to that. Yeah, Vic, go ahead, explain this to us, Vic.
Whoa! No! This is coming from the same Eric Lopez who on our live show on Tuesday night at D1 Softball, by the way, said how he loved the crossover, but all of a sudden now it's a problem because Florida has
no. I don't have the issue with the crossover per se. It's why are they the first game Sunday? They should be the Sunday night game. That's the part I don't get. Is why do they have Alabama is playing early Friday? They haven't played since Friday. Florida's got a turnout. It's not going to be as lengthy, but it's going to be like a 16-hour turnaround. So I kind of agree with Coach Kumar. It is a bit of confusion. Why would to me, Stanford UCLA should be the early game, and Florida Alabama should be the late game if you're going to do it. Now we can get into. You agree with the whole process? I mean, that's a whole other story. But I'm just saying, from a scheduling standpoint, to me, it makes no sense, Coach.
Yeah, no, it doesn't, and I don't know why or who. I'm not in the room of why that happened. So I guess that's another good reason that he pulled her early, right? To get rest. So she's gonna get rest either way, right? Like if they came back and won, she would have got rest because they don't play tomorrow or that. So, but yeah, quick turnaround. I know they're probably used to that a little bit. I don't know how quickly they play in the SEC, but I mean, she's a great pitcher, and I think they're going to get her recovered, and she'll be ready. I mean, when your back's against the wall, you're going to do everything you can. So.
And Coach, I do want to bring up that point. How much will it help Rock that she's taking on an Alabama team that she is familiar with, so she doesn't have to do as much scouting or preparation as opposed to, say, if she had to face somebody that she had not seen before in the postseason?
Oh, I mean that like the mental aspect of the game, like pitching, is huge when that happens because now she can think about like, okay, this worked against this hitter, and she can have a reference. They can watch that video, and you see yourself against them. So it's a lot easier to do that. It's not easy by any means, but is it easier? Yes. Are they going to feel more comfortable knowing what works and what doesn't instead of like facing someone new and you're like, what do I throw somebody? She hits 10 home runs. So I think, yes, it's going to make it easier. And Tim Walton will do a great job preparing them for that and getting ready because you got to forget about what happened today.
Of course, Florida will play Alabama, who eliminated Duke on Friday night. UCLA, who lost to Oklahoma 1-0 earlier today. Let me ask you about the Oklahoma UCLA game. Pitchers duel. Kelly Maxwell, tremendous. I thought Jen Rocha was phenomenal in her pitch calling. It's why she's one of the best pitch callers in the sport. I think they saw early that UCLA was not disciplined at the plate. They were overswinging. And I think Rocha and Maxwell were like, fine, we're going to keep mixing the speeds up, drop ball, rise ball, but it's going to be out of the strike zone because you're going to get yourself out. And that's what happened to me in my eyes. What did you see?
Well, I thought Maxwell was a lot more around the zone, not necessarily a strike, but the like day before she was kind of all over a little bit. But like today she was around the zone, and when she does that, it makes her pitches look like strikes, right? So even though it's not a strike, it looks like a strike. So and then when it works, you do it, right? What some people don't understand is that you don't have to keep changing pitches, right? If someone's not hitting a certain pitch, keep it there. Keep it there till they prove that they can hit it. And I think a lot of people try to be like, let's go high and out, low and in, do this, do that. And then one of the pitches you get hit. And I thought they did a great job of like sticking to what was working, right? Each and every time. So yeah, she one of the best that does it. And Maxwell looked like, I mean, she looked untouchable today.
You're one of the few teams that had success against Oklahoma's pitching. In fact, I got people in the chat room that are already scared the fact that you're here because they keep bringing that memory back of that wild game that you played against them with Spade and company. How do you have success against that Oklahoma pitching staff? Because it is a staff.
Yeah, I think you go in a little bit. Has to be that we knew that Nicole May was going to start against us. A little bit of that, so that was very helpful. And that's only because of like the game and everything. But prior to coming into that game, I think we had hit like 20 home runs already in 11 games or some odd number. So like they were like, we can hit. And it's not like, last year we could hit. It was just like, okay, we can hit this year. We got freshmen and sophomores hitting. And so they went in knowing like, hey, what do we have to lose? Like we're supposed to lose. So let's just go out there. And they just showed it. And then after that game happened, they showed that they continued doing it, right? It wasn't just a one-off that some people do it. So they did such a great job of being more disciplined this year. It might be the only year where we had more walks and strikeouts, where it would have been reversed the last few years. And I think that's what helped with everything else, right? When you have good eye, so then either you walk and then you make a mistake to somebody else. So instead, if it's a 1-run or 2-run, and that I think was a huge difference this year. So, and it helped. I mean, Allie Cummins walked the very first batter up to bat at Oklahoma, and then Spade hits a 2-run home run, right? Instead of a 1-run home run, and then we got on base and hit another 2-run home run. So
we're speaking with Miami, Ohio head coach Karen Kumar here as we're in the circle live. So Oklahoma will wait for the winner of Alabama, Florida.
Yep.
Texas will play the winner of UCLA, Stanford. This will be the Monday semifinals. Of the 4 teams that got to play Sunday, Coach, who do you like the best? If I had to ask you, hey, who's the one team you think that can win Sunday and come back and win twice on Monday and surprise people and get to the champ series? Who would you pick of Stanford, UCLA, Alabama, and Florida?
Yeah, it's UCLA and Florida I would pick. They both have a very good balance of pitching and offense, which you need. I think the others are a little bit more one-sided, and so that makes it a little bit more difficult. Not that they're not great teams. They obviously made it, but between those four, I would say Florida and UCLA. And I think this World Series is very interesting because we've had pitching duels and we've had run rolls. Right. So it's been very interesting this year.
It has been interesting. And what's fascinating is Texas hasn't given up a run in 2 games against Stanford and Florida. Oklahoma only gave up the 1 run to Duke. Both teams will have a lot of arms available, and they're going to have to make the decisions on who to go with on Monday. If you're Mike White or Patty Gasso, is there a certain pitcher you would go with? Do you go back to Maxwell? Do you go to Nicole May, for example? Let's start with Oklahoma. If you're Patty Gasso on Monday, and maybe it depends on who you play, right? That also will play a factor is on the matchup that you get. So let's put that as a part of it. But who would you go with if you're Patty Gasso? Do you go back to Maxwell and ride the hot hand, or do you go somewhere else?
Well, you took the words out of my mouth. I think it depends on the matchup, right? They're so fortunate that they have a staff of pitchers. Right. So like if you sit there and go, I think May is going to be a better matchup for this team or Maxwell, I think you do that because they have the luxury of doing that. And I don't know if I can pick. I'm not in their shoes. I know I'm a coach, but I don't watch them every day. I don't know. I also don't know who comes in better. Like maybe Maxwell is a better starter and May comes in better. Right. So maybe that's the reason they do that. And that way, if Maxwell gets in trouble, May comes in. And that's also a possibility that they're thinking. Like you have to think it that way. So it might not be that May is not a better matchup. It's just like maybe May's better coming in.
Nick, what do you think?
Well, for me, if I'm Oklahoma, I'm going back to Maxwell. The way that she pitched today, especially keeping UCLA off balance, I don't know, especially if they're playing Alabama. If Maxwell does that same way against Alabama she did against UCLA today, the Crimson Tide won't have much of a chance, if any, if Kelly Maxwell pitches the way she did today. Well, as opposed to if on the other side, if you're Texas, I think you go with Mac Morgan because you have the luxury of if you need to go to Tegan Kavan out of the bullpen, you can. Or if you want to start her and bring Morgan in relief to close it out if it's a close game, because if it's Stanford, they're going to pitch Kennedy.
Yep.
In all likelihood for that first game, or maybe depending on the situation, you put Kennedy in relief to try and close yourself out to get to that if necessary game. If you're Florida,
Florida's going to go Rothrock to start. They've been clear on that. Texas, I would bring up Satali Gutierrez hasn't seen the World Series yet. If you're going to use her, maybe you start her the first game just to get her feet wet. You don't want to wait till, late in a game or in the champ series if you get there to wait to start her. I could see Mike White and Texas going with Satali Gutierrez to start whoever they play. Again, matchups will play a factor in this because Texas has played Stanford 3 times already this season. They played UCLA way back in February twice when they crushed them. But that could play a factor too, right, Coach? About, hey, we've got this depth. Let's bring in this arm that's fresh that hasn't seen the stage yet, and we have everybody behind her.
When's the last time a World Series participant has used 3 pitchers and gone, like, to the championship game or something?
Hmm.
That's a
I'd
good
be
question.
very
I know Oklahoma in 21 used Juarez, Sale, and May.
Nay.
The 3 of them. But they were coming out of the losers bracket. Yeah, they used the 3 of them in the champ series against FSU. FSU used a lot of arms against Oklahoma, right? And that's the easy answers. Who, everybody that used all these arms against Oklahoma in the champ series, like Florida State did these last couple of years, and even maybe that Texas year in 22, probably. But
most coaches, when you go there, like you're in that stage, you're going to go with your ace, right? Your 1 or your 2, not because you don't believe that somebody else can't do it. It's not, it has nothing to do with that. It's just like, man, they got you here. We're this far. Let's give the ball to them. So I think about that. I don't think you're wrong about like not pitching Gutierrez, but I just don't know if do that.
And don't forget Estelle Check. Don't forget Estelle Check, who they love to use out of the bullpen.
Who's pitched in the World Series. So she has experience there and is great from the other side. So, yeah, I don't know. It would be interesting if they're going to use them in relief and not as starters kind of thing. But, I mean, when you have those kind of arms in your bullpen, you're very, very fortunate. And he's done a great job with that.
And they've worked themselves into the situation where they only need 1 win. So they've got all the advantages. They could sit back on Sunday and watch the other teams beat each other up in an elimination game and have to use everything. So
the year that they made it to the championship game with Dulcini, she didn't pitch every game, did she?
No, they had to use Check on a couple of those occasions, especially that Monday night where they had to beat Oklahoma State twice. So that's the problem. The problem now, if you're Florida, especially in Stanford to some extent, is you're going to have to throw 2 arms now the next 2 days, even if you now UCLA. The good news is I think UCLA is in the best position for that with Tinsley and Terry, that they're going to use both of them anyway. In fact, they've used both of them in both games so far. Stanford may have to use Reagan Krause here at some point, who's got it in her. She's won 20 games, but hasn't had a good postseason to this point. And then Alabama used Brisky to start on Friday night against Duke. Let me
did a great job. Like it worked for them. So the thing is, like, yes, it worked for them, but if it doesn't work, it looks bad, right? So it worked great, and then they brought in Beaver to close it out, and it worked great for them.
If I gave you the prediction today, right now, are you picking Oklahoma and Texas to get to the champ series? Are you pulling for somebody to out of Sunday to get there? What's your prediction? I don't know if you had a prediction before the series started, but you could.
I'm not pulling for anyone, but my prediction is Oklahoma, Texas.
Yeah.
To get to the finals, I think the UCLA Oklahoma game I thought was going to be the game that told us a little bit about who might take it all the way.
Yeah, boy, UCLA had chances there a couple times to maybe push one against Maxwell. Didn't deliver. They might regret that at the end of this World Series. I want to ask you about the season you had. A fun, historic year. Miami of Ohio became a big national talk. We had Carly Spade on the show. We had Kalabrisky on the show. You've had some time to reflect on it. When you reflect on the season, I know it didn't end the way you'd have liked in the Knoxville Regional, but you had the nation talking about you. ESPN was talking about your team. What do you think back now when you reflect on this year? I got a bunch of Oklahoma fans in the chat room paying you a lot of praise, so they're not going to forget that game. But what do you want to reflect there?
I want to reflect that this team, they came together like from the fall, not knowing, what our pitching situation was going to be, and then have 2 transfers come in and freshmen to just working and not giving up hitting. And we've had great hitting years before, right? Like we've been in the top 3 and doubles or home runs the last 3 seasons, and none of them were like, oh, we got this. This is easy. We're like, we're gonna do better. And when you have an entire team like that, It is so fun to watch. And I remember the first game where we hit 5 home runs, and it doesn't matter who you play. It really doesn't. The year that Oklahoma broke the home run record, or has the home run record, they hit 13 against UTEP, right? In one game. So you sit there and you go, okay, we hit 5 in one game. That's cool. And then we hit 4, and then we hit like 4, and then we hit 5, and you sit there and you go, what is going on? This is so much fun to watch. And I reflect back, because the ending of the season kind of sucked, but I wouldn't change it, because we just had so much fun. And that's the point, right? Playing a game that they have so much fun doing it. Behind, the pitchers kept us in the games to allow our offense to keep hitting. I just think about like Jenna Golembeski, who didn't start her freshman year and didn't transfer, didn't complain, worked her butt off, and hit 17 home runs the next year. And I'm like, great, like that's awesome. I don't know if we're going to get that again. And then she hits 28, which a bomb against Oklahoma, dead center, like right under the scoreboard. And you sit there and you go, like, this is a special group of young women that just enjoy playing together and sticking together for 4 years. And this is what you produce.
What is the program, you and the program, going to look like without these seniors now moving forward? No, Carly Spade, what a legacy there. What's it going to look like moving forward next year and beyond?
So we're graduating 89 home runs, which I think is more than most people hit. So I don't know. Every year we have obviously a lot coming back, over 80 coming back. So they're still on the roster. And for me, we're just going to play what our team brings, right? Like, we practice bunting, because you don't know if that's what we're going to need every year. It might change. And so the answer is, I don't know, because I'm going to let my team show me what we are going to be offensively. Right. And then we have 3 pitchers coming in. So it'll be a lot of fun to see what this team's identity is, because each year it's different. My first 2 years we had Courtney Vierstra and Bree Pratt. Courtney was 26-4. We were pitching. We hit a little bit behind her, and then this year we were an offensive team. So I let the team show me what they're going to be, and we'll build it around that.
Oh, we can't wait. That'll be fun. Congrats on the great year once again.
Thank you.
Another conference title, another NCAA tournament. We'll have to get you back on another point to talk Rock Cody, SummerSlam or Mania. When is it going to happen?
Yeah.
Because I know you got invested interest in that. But
very much so.
I know you do.
Thank you so much for everything you do for softball. It is great. Love following you guys, and it's amazing. So.
And thank you for providing some analysis for us here tonight and breaking some things down. And we always enjoy that. So thanks for joining us. Have fun the rest of the World Series.
All right. Thank you.
That is head coach Kerry Kumar joining us here at In the Circle Live. That's a good start to the show, Vic. That's
that's
our
pretty
goal.
Good start to the show indeed.
This is folks. People wonder, like, man, how do you guys have all that success and people tuning in? It's really simple. We just book people that are a lot smarter than the two of us. Really what it is.
Yes.
That's how it works. That's the secret
to our success.
That's it. It's really simple. Let the smart people on the show and let them talk. And we just gotta hopefully ask the proper questions there, Victor. That was fun. Always enjoy Coach Kumar there.
Yes.
That one.
And speaking of smart people who we like to talk, we go to our Oklahoma City correspondents. You see Shelly Carlin and Jenna Becerra, who have been doing phenomenal work for D1 softball in Oklahoma City at the Women's College World Series. Jenna, I'll start with you. Your thoughts on what you saw with Texas Gurley jumping on Rock early and run ruling their way to the semifinals on Monday.
I mean, that's Texas at its best, in my opinion. Just every single part of the game was working. Besides the fact that Mac Morgan almost threw a no-hitter, then you look at Mia Scott, for example, who makes that fantastic defensive play at the hot corner and then leaves the yard as well, right? Like, everything was clicking. And I think I saw Mac Morgan was quoted after the game as saying, someone asked them like, "Hey, what'd you guys eat for breakfast today?" And she was like, "I don't know, but I hope the hotel makes it again tomorrow and every day that we're here at the World Series because it worked." So I think they were just relaxed. Like they were all in a groove, having a good time, which can make a difference.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was the Texas team that I saw in February against UCLA at Easton Stadium. The ball was just rocketing off the bat. So yeah, it was pretty fun to see if you were a Texas fan, and we heard quite a bit of that.
Well, first of all, amazing scenery backdrop. Tell me where you two are, and how far are you? Are you two separated now because you're not going to speak to each other until tomorrow night with Stanford, UCLA? How far apart are you? Oh, there you go. That's a distance. That's a good distance.
Hey!
We need a referee.
Ladies and gentlemen.
We gotta get either Brenna or Paige. Somebody got to be the middle referee tomorrow night. We'll
Justin's got that job. Paige is on my team. Paige is Team Bruin.
True.
So,
We
can't
have a Bruin be a referee of a Bruin versus Cardinal fight. We don't need that. We don't need that. But speaking of Bruins,
because these Stanford guys they're so smart. It takes two Bruins to equal the GPA or the SAT score.
Here we go.
We're just public school kids. We can't compete. So I don't know.
Can't relate to the public school struggle. I just can't relate to that. But it's going to be fun. Shelly and I were joking, like, do we actually wear our team shirts tomorrow in the press box? Do we make Justin sit in the middle of us for once, like she was saying? That's dangerous in itself. So I don't know. We'll see.
Well, let's talk about how you both got here. And I want to start with UCLA, Shelly, because tight game with Oklahoma. Pitchers duel. Tinsley and Terry were fantastic. Tiari Jennings, one swing makes the difference. Bruins had some chances there. Otherwise, we might have a completely different conversation. Give me both of your thoughts, starting with you, Shelly, on the UCLA-Oklahoma game.
You know what? I obviously you want to win. You want to win every time you go out. But I couldn't be more, as an alum, more proud of the job that our pitching staff did. That was the question mark going in. Kelly Maxwell pitched a Kelly Maxwell, epic game. And so, yeah, we left a lot of runners on base, didn't get the timely hit. But if I'm the Bruins, I'm still feeling good. There's still a lot of softball to play. And not just this year, but the future of this program is in good hands. This is the first time since 1998, I believe, that the Bruins have come into the World Series without a pitcher on the roster who has World Series experience. And so I think these two have gotten a great amount of experience in the last 2 days, and they've done, KT made one bad pitch, and there you go.
Jenna, what'd you think?
I mean, I think it was super competitive, right? Like thinking last year to the World Series, more so than even this year, Oklahoma ran over everyone, right? All season long, except for the one loss to Baylor. But it reminded me actually, ironically, of when Stanford played them twice. And they were essentially, outside of that one Baylor loss, the most competitive games that Oklahoma had seen, including potentially that Clemson Super Regional as well. But those were really the biggest moments and biggest challenges that Oklahoma had as a team. I felt like they had a really big challenge today, and the pitching was just on point for both teams. Kind of what Shelly said, a little bit of the opposite of what we thought in the beginning of the season with all the star power they have in the lineup offensively for the Bruins. But, KT has come in and just really owned it in the postseason, especially like the Pac-12 tournament to regionals to supers to the World Series here. And then, of course, there's Taylor Tinsley as well. But, obviously they swept Stanford in Palo Alto last time.
You remember that?
I remember it vividly.
Wasn't there a bet? There's a bet, right? Like you owe Shelly dinner, or who owes who dinner?
Actually, Shelly owes me dinner because I was so sure that it wouldn't happen, and then it happened.
No. Here's what happened. I said UCLA is going to sweep Stanford. And Jenna said, right, with Nigel Kennedy, you're going to sweep Stanford. And I said, we're going to sweep them. And when we do, I will buy you dinner at any city in the world, anytime. So, yeah. So I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for.
Are we doubling it? Are we doubling this up for tomorrow? Are we going to double up? We're going to make a side bet here, or are we just going to?
Absolutely. We can go to Oxnard, or we can go to Paris. So, sorry, it's a California joke for all of you who aren't from
California.
Jenna has traveled recently out of the country.
Yes, that's true. And Oxnard is literally right next to my hometown, so it's fine. I go there too often. So do the Dallas Cowboys. Fun fact. But yeah, no, we're going to Paris. I'd say if depending on what happens tomorrow, maybe we add in another continent. Maybe we go Australia as well for the other one.
Can you make sure you fly get me Justin's included on the flight? Because you know how much he loved traveling to the West Coast so much that I would assume he would love traveling.
Yeah, I think he's on a no-fly zone, no-fly list. But
all right, fair. Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair point. Yeah, you're 100%. Let's talk Stanford here, Jenna. Beat Oklahoma State, run ruled. I thought of you there. We mentioned on the pregame show. I asked you about Stanford's offense. What do they have? Do they have enough production? You mentioned the new hitters, the young hitters they have. That they have more explosive bats this year. They have more power than last year. It's just kind of under the radar. They're inconsistent. Boy, it showed out against Lexi Kilfoyle and Oklahoma State. How do you feel about them going into this fourth meeting with UCLA? And of course, Najee Kennedy, we saw how she ended the game, threw a pitch off her leg or knee. She got some treatment, missed the post game. Coach Allister was real quick to correct the NCAA guy that was trying to make it a big deal about her getting treatment. He's like, hey, this is not that intense there. But what do you make of Stanford now coming in here Sunday after the day off?
Well, honestly, it was funny because at the end for the last out in that run roll, I was in the Stanford stands.
We saw
kind of commenting on what's going on. And the girls who were sitting behind me actually played with Nigel Kennedy last year. Emily Schultz, Tatum Boyd were on the team. Tatum Boyd was the one behind all the Ushka pink cowboy hats for reference. Emily Schultz was the first baseman. They right away, knowing her, having played with her, were like, I think she's just mad that she let some of these runners on base. I don't think it's like anything more than like she's mad that happened and it took a while to get that last out. So I think it's probably simpler than what everyone thinks. But the question still is, and Coach Allister was open about this in the press conference too, which is how long can she go? She said they had a conversation with Nyjah that morning of that game saying like, hey, are you good? Because we've asked a lot of you recently. It's the most innings she's thrown in the shortest amount of time throughout her collegiate career. And certainly she has the experience in the postseason, but that level of shouldering those kind of innings is a little bit newer to her. And that's something she's been working on this year. So that's definitely still a question. I think things get nutty with in-conference matchups in the postseason. Like these, obviously they were swept by UCLA at home. That leaves a bad taste in your mouth. But then things get crazier. I would say the same thing about Florida, Alabama. Like my initial thought is like, oh, based on what we've seen this year, Florida would take that one, right? Like that's the gut reaction. But I don't know. People didn't think Alabama would even be here in the first place. Didn't think that they'd necessarily win and stay in this more than 2 games either. So I think that's when it gets complicated. There's like too much familiarity almost to a certain degree. But with KT having pitched the majority of the postseason, Taylor Tinsley pitched the majority of the series against Stanford during the regular season. So I'm interested to see what decisions they make in that regard in the circle for the Bruins.
And Jenna mentioned it's the 4th time this year, but UCLA's winning streak over Stanford, sorry, I have to say it, is 7 games. Going back to last year's series sweep, last year's Pac-12 tournament win, and then the 3 this year. So I know these Stanford guys know something about, math and stats. We're public school kids, so we don't really know that. But so the odds of numbers or something, Jenna came up with something that says the odds are in Stanford's favor. So we're gonna take that and just, okay, you must be right since you guys are Stanford.
Wow. Jenna, you gonna let her talk smack like this?
I will quote one of I don't know if everyone got to see the signs. I saw someone comment like, yes, Nerd Nation, that is very much what Stanford owns and is all about. We typically steer into it. But in addition to that, there was one that said Coach Allister bats 1,000 in video reviews. And I think that is a good example of us utilizing our math skills effectively. Again, the public school situation, I don't know, I can't relate. So we'll just leave it at that.
Do we need to fly Victor in to be the ref here? I'm really worried here.
No, I'm good. Hey, Eric, I don't know if y'all are aware of this right now, but I'm doing this live stream, and in front of me, I'm watching Florida play the Rangers in Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals. So I am the last person you want me to try to calm down any situation while I am not calm myself right now.
Well, you notice that Jenna did talk about video replay because Stanford has a thing about video replay. Let's get real. Because how did UCLA beat Stanford?
Oh.
And they will never let us forget it. That you guys only won because of the replay. So Stanford is proud of their replay prowess. Even though they lost that one, that was not batting 1,000.
Okay, I said that you have to score to win. So I never once did I say that's the only reason that UCLA won. You have to score to win. Stanford did not score. It's that simple.
You are correct.
Yeah,
I'll vouch for Jenna. She was on the In the Circle show right after that and mentioned that. So I will defend her. She did say.
Was it still a terrible call? Absolutely. But that's not why they lost.
Isn't that up at this World Series too? Oh boy, that could.
Yes. We had a call last night that Jen Show was crowing about. I'm like,
well, umpires. They've been fine. Let me ask you in all seriousness. This is the last meeting between these two schools as Pac-12 members. This is the last Pac-12 softball game that will be played as far as we know it. You've gone through this. You went through this in the Pac-12 tournament thinking this is the end, but now you both could say you're going to be at the last ever meeting between the Pac-12 game. Let's forget about how we got to all that point, but has that hit both of you that you're going to see history here tomorrow?
Not completely, not yet. I think tomorrow, maybe as the game starts, like first pitch, I feel like is when like things, even as a player, that's how I felt. Like I'd feel like, a little bit of nerves or a little bit of that like heightened energy. And then once the first pitch was done or the first play was made, it was like, okay, we're rolling. So I think that might be the case tomorrow, just from our standpoint. I am really glad that actually both of us are here in person for it. Just as alums, even separate from that though, even as people who cover the game, like it is historic that this is going to be the last one in this way as we know it. So from both angles, I think I'm glad that we're both here.
Yeah, and I think it's really good that the Pac finishes at OKC, right? It's not that we didn't finish in a super or a regional somewhere, that we actually made it. And look, one of us is going to survive tomorrow, and if that's Stanford, I will be wearing Cardinal. This is Cardinal, right? I will be wearing Cardinal and cream or white or whatever your colors are. And
White.
I'll be doing the cosine sign, math, cheers. I'll be all in for Stanford if you guys beat us.
I can give some context on that. I told of course, Shelly and Justin were making fun of me about being a nerd earlier today. But one of the cheers that we did, I don't know if they still do it. I should ask. My number was 1. They usually did it for whoever's number was 1 at the time. So River Mailer could very well have this cheer. But it was a math cheer, and we would literally say sine squared plus cosine squared is 1, is 1. Sine squared plus cosine squared is 1, is 1. That was literally, we actually did it for ESPN last year. The alums did in the parking lot here at the stadium. It didn't air, and I could guess probably why. I don't think anyone gets it but us, but yeah.
Cosine for a public school kid means something about loans. I don't know what a cosine is, so I don't understand.
All right, hold on, Jenna. We're getting comments here from our chat room asking if Shelly's banned from the Nerd Nation section.
Tomorrow she does have the glasses. We got to put the tape in the middle, and then we're on a better path probably. But tomorrow, I don't think either of us are.
And in fairness, you might be banned from the Bruin bubble. Like Paige may have to get all the reactions out of the Bruin bubble while you take care of Nerd Nation. Is that what we're doing on D1?
No, the bubble is open to all. The bubble is open to all.
Wow.
We will welcome
the bubble
her.
is the bubble is all welcoming.
Yes.
Wow, that's very good. Right,
the bubble will pop. Just saying, the bubble will pop.
Give me last question about the game. What needs to happen? Stanford needs to do blank to win, and then UCLA needs to do blank to win. What needs to happen for both sides to get victorious and get to Monday? Starting with you, Jenna.
Hit and pitch at the same time. Really, both teams, to be honest, because what we've seen so far is Kennedy threw a pretty good game despite the final score being 4-0 against Texas. And on the flip side today, Tinsley and KT both threw well to only allow the 1 run. Shelly said it earlier, was 1 bad pitch, essentially, that they got beat on. So they've had their moments. Stanford, obviously, with the run rule. So we go from 1 hit to a run rule. Let's even this out a little bit. And I would say with UCLA, they had more production offensively, obviously, in the first game than they did today. So I think they just need to bring it together at the same time. It's something we always talk about, right? You have to have hitting, pitching, and defense at the same time. So far, defense has been fine. There have even been some great plays. So I think it's just making sure the pitching and the hitting are both. You need that support. It's what it comes down to. But consistency with that support.
Yeah, and I think, I characterize the pitch that KT made today as a mistake, not in her execution of the pitch. The pitch was executed, but Kelly I basically said, she should not have called that pitch to that particular hitter. So I think for UCLA, they have to get to Kennedy the same way they did during the regular season. By they had a goal going into the series that we're not going to strike out looking against Nyjah Kennedy. So they have to be aggressive. They have to be aggressive early. They have to jump on her, because if you get behind in the count, it's she's really tough when you're behind in the count. So I think UCLA has to be aggressive at the plate early, swing early, and just take it to her. And I'm just looking forward to a great battle. I really am. It's gonna be fun to watch.
It's going to be fun on the West Coast. We're getting Mark Virgil saying, "Where is the fear the tree signs?" Wow, people want signs here.
There are some here. So I've seen Fear the Tree. I've seen some of the. There was also like a Stanford's ERA is better than Texas's GPA. Stuff. There's all that stuff. What has been here, all the nerdy stuff. They've been here. They probably need more airtime, so maybe we'll work on that tomorrow from our perspective. But
people asking if Mendoza is going to come in out of nowhere to be your tag team partner against Shelly and Paige.
I think so. I talked to her today. I think she's up for it if needed. So.
Very good. I can't wait for these two. I'm going to be nervous. I'm going to be watching. I got two of my friends going at it here. This is fun. Stay up for UCLA. That should be a lot of fun. And then Alabama, Florida will be the early game. Any quick thoughts on Alabama, Florida?
Don't count out the Tide. That's all I'm saying. Don't count them out. They have something pretty special. They are the epitome of in the postseason timely hits. They don't have a great batting average, lowest batting average coming in, but man, they're tough. They're tough when they need to be. Who knows what it's going to be tomorrow, but I wouldn't count them out.
That's what I was saying earlier about how it gets a little weird in the postseason when it comes to, again, Alabama, Tennessee, weird, not what people expected, right? And it gets a little funky in the postseason with that familiarity. So I would say that applies here as well. In terms of on paper and all the tools that we have seen throughout the season, it seems like Florida would come out on top, but a lot of things have seemed a certain way and don't end up that way. So and a lot of coaches will say this, it's not really about who's the quote unquote better team. It's who's going to play the best that day. So, and Alabama has done that. Florida has also done that. Obviously the great run, the SEC tournament, et cetera. But you can't count them out, like you said.
And look at the momentum that Alabama's riding versus what just happened to Florida today. And they have to quick turnaround, come back again tomorrow. I think that's going to be huge.
I would agree. That is Jenna Becerra, Shelly Carlin reporting from Oklahoma City at the World Series. Check out D1 Softball on Instagram, on d1softball.com, on all the social media platforms. You may have seen Jenna talk to the GOAT herself, Kat Osterman, Paige Halstead. Shout out to her. She's talking to everybody. I feel like she knows everybody in the stadium there. Jenna, we can expect more of that coverage coming in the coming days, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. And yes, it's been so nice to have Paige here too. Despite, the differences we'll share tomorrow. For the most part, everything we've been covering though, she's been awesome. It's been so great to just be able to capture what it's like to actually be here on site. Because obviously everyone can tune into the games. The coverage is more than it's ever been on TV with the ABC game today too, as well, all of those things. But to feel what it's like to actually be here, it's hard to understand it unless you're actually here. So we're bringing that to everybody, which has been really fun.
All right. Well, we're going to let you go. Enjoy your remaining hours of getting along before the first pitch tomorrow. Victor, as the executive producer, will have the tough job of reaching out to both of you probably during or after the game to see if you want to come on. We'll see where we're at that point. Good luck, Vic. But ladies, seriously.
That's going to be on a touch and feel basis tomorrow.
Well, we'll see how the score is. Make sure we got to check the score there. But ladies, awesome job. Great backdrop there. Thanks for joining us, and hopefully everybody gets along, and we'll do this again tomorrow night.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate it.
See you tomorrow.
All right, that is Jenna Becerra and Shelly Carlin from Oklahoma City. What a beautiful backdrop that was. That's the beauty of a game
Yes.
getting early there,
Yes.
Victor. Vic, let me ask you now. I enjoyed that very much. I'm not going to lie. We definitely,
Yes, we
hopefully,
did.
we're going to get him back. We got to get him back tomorrow night after Stanford UCLA. But give me your thoughts on Stanford
Yeah, the
UCLA.
aftermath.
You heard both sides. What do you think?
Well, I think for UCLA, capitalizing on those opportunities. They failed to do that against Maxwell today, and you made one mistake against Thierry Jennings. She's going to make you pay. So, UCLA, when they have those advantages, they have to take advantage of them versus Stanford tomorrow. For Stanford, can they have the pitching and the hitting at the same time? Because there have been few games in this postseason run where the hitting and the pitching have been on the same page. One game, though, the perfect example is the first two games they had here in Oklahoma City. Kennedy pitched well, but she got roughed up versus Texas, and then they run rule Oklahoma State. Can they have both of those things merged together? That's going to be the key for who wins that Stanford UCLA game on Sunday night.
What do you got? I mean, that's a tough game because I feel like UCLA might be a little better. They swept them in Stanford, but boy, can you really beat Stanford 4 times in that is an interesting game. I think that's the better of the two games personally. I think the winner of that game, see if you agree with me, I think the Stanford UCLA winner has the best chance of maybe getting at least a win on Monday and forcing a if necessary game. I don't believe the winner of Alabama Florida has it. Okay. And listen, if you told me, hey, somebody from Sunday is going to end up in the champ series, I would say, oh, wow. So the winner of Stanford UCLA got to the champ series. Would you agree with that?
But they will need
I'm not saying that's going to happen. Yeah.
Of course.
I agree.
We're not saying that. But if there's a team that could win Sunday and then win twice on Monday to get to the champ series, it will be whoever wins UCLA Stanford. Now, I before we talk about Florida, Alabama, I do have to address a comment. Sark After Dark said, didn't y'all say, no. I did not say Texas is going to go 0-2. What I said, Sark, was if Texas did not clean up their pitching, they could go 0-2 with who was in their side of the draw. But Texas handled Stanford, and we saw what happened tonight versus Florida.
They cleaned up all right.
Needless to say,
I'm a pro Texas guy. Yeah, that's an understatement.
They got their act together, and I think Texas is in the proverbial catbird seat to get to the champ series.
By the way, I feel like we're due for a classic game. I got to be honest. This World Series so far has been, it's been mid.
Thank you, MJF. So it's either been pitching duel, 1-0, 2-0.
But we haven't had that iconic game. And I tell you, I hope you appreciate, Victor, every year, that 2021 World Series that you covered in person.
Oh, yes.
Maybe that's spoiled because that was just drop-full every day, it seemed like.
Drama at its purest form.
We haven't gotten that yet. I know Florida, Oklahoma State had a good pitchers duel, the UCLA Oklahoma game, but we haven't had that game that people are like, whoa.
We haven't had that Texas Oklahoma State game.
Correct.
Yet.
Could we get that tomorrow night with UCLA Stanford? Maybe that's the game. Right? Wouldn't that be a fitting end to this Pac-12 era to go out with an iconic game that people talk about?
It would be. Now, I don't want to discredit Alabama, Florida simply because, again, it's SEC teams playing each other in Oklahoma City.
Oh, actually, I have a name for that game, but we'll get to that. I have a game for that. It's actually, I got breaking news on that. The game is changed. It's not just an elimination game. There's a new title.
Okay. We'll get to that later on. But Stanford, it's so weird because those games were so close. Umpires notwithstanding.
Listen,
all I gotta say, umpires notwithstanding, but. If UCLA can have that 1-2 combination pitch the way they did today and then find some offense, then I think they can knock off Stanford. I really do. I really think
Sark After Dark with a little fist pump, so we're all good. See, fist pump, we're good.
Yes, see, it's all about Appreciate you.
So,
Appreciate you.
let's get into Florida, Alabama. But I have breaking news on this. I don't know if people are aware of this.
I don't have
You know that
I
the
don't
SEC
breaking
have
news
a
is-
the SEC has a slogan, right? Like it
just
means more.
Yes.
Just means more, right? Now
Yes.
the winner of Alabama, Florida is going to play Oklahoma.
Oh
Now
no.
I thought this was weird,
Oh
but
no.
but the winner, apparently, this game is known as it just means more to get run ruled by Oklahoma. That's what this game is. The winner of this game is going to get run ruled by Oklahoma, and they better get used to it because that's what's going to happen to them next year when Oklahoma's in the league. So get used to it, guys, because this might be what Alabama and Florida gets used to, is being third best. There you go. There's my show.
Well, fourth best if you include Texas.
Well, that's true too, boy. Let me tell you. Woo-hoo! Because Texas returns a good nucleus. I know Oklahoma loses this great senior class, but let's be
Oklahoma, Patty Gasson will find a way.
Well, look. I think Shelley. In all seriousness, I like to have fun with the Southeastern Conference, as obviously you can tell. But I do think Shelley brings up an interesting point, Victor, about this game. Is how does Florida psychologically handle this beatdown against Texas? Now, Tim Walton has talked to me about this, and he's talked to the media about this in the postgame. With a young team like Florida, this is not the first time this has happened to them where they've gotten their brains beat out. And they've been able to bounce back. But now you got a quick turnaround, and we already went over, which I don't understand the scheduling from that standpoint. Like I said.
So while we're here, how would you change?
Like I said, Florida, Alabama should be the late game. Florida, Alabama should be the late game. Now, you have another idea, though. You have another idea.
Well, honestly, that was going to be the idea. That was going to be the idea because it makes no sense if UCLA played the 3:00 game today.
Correct.
Wouldn't it make sense for them to play the 3:00 game tomorrow? Keep them 100%. On the same time schedule.
And that's assuming if you want to keep this format. I know you've got issues with this format.
The whole we can
you're
talk
not a fan
about it at another time. We can talk about it at another time. And like Sark got the dog says, hey, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button to our Inner Circle YouTube channel, ladies and gentlemen. We got media, we got post-game press conferences from every team after every game in the Women's College World Series. You have exclusive content that you will not get on a podcast. Of course, our lovely live streams that you get to watch.
Ooh, Fagnai with a nice TV conspiracy. I like this. Can we post that, Fagnai?
They not want the same.
Maybe. That's not bad. I like conspiracies. I'm not against conspiracy theories. I mean, they'll deny that, but that's not because by that logic, you're right. UCLA would play on ABC.
UCLA would be on ABC again tomorrow.
Instead, you get Florida, Alabama. Alabama's a TV. That's an interesting theory there. I like it, Fang Nai. I like your I like it. I don't know if it's accurate, but who cares? It's we can speculate.
Possible.
But back to my point. How does Florida psychologically do they flush this out of it quickly, or there's a hangover? I thought Tim, and I tweeted about this. I thought Tim made a right decision pulling Rothrock what he did. It's very old school. I think he's done a great job, old school coaching this team. Remember the old days, Vic? You covered this sport a lot longer than I have. All the coaches used to pull their aces when they got down early. They're like, hey, this is not your game. We're going to regroup. Save it for the next game. And that's what he did. I think he knew early this was not their night against Texas. I thought that was a smart play. Interesting to see how Keegan, now we saw this in the Supers. I saw this in person against Baylor. Keegan gave up a 3-run homer to Govin. Tim pulled her right away in the first inning, brought in Ava Brown. Rothrock came back the next day, got the win against Baylor. Will she do that again against Alabama, who's fresher? Again, that's what I don't understand. Alabama's the fresher team here. They had a day off. That's why, to your point, this is a little quirky. But I think it's early. We'll tell the story about Florida. Do they have enough left in the tank psychologically? And then Bama coming up to win.
And let's bring this up, Eric. Remember that 14-inning marathon in Game 2 of the Knoxville Super Regional? Alabama beats Tennessee. And then in Game 3, Bama hits a grand slam to jump on the Vols early, and the Vols had to scramble from behind, but they fall before falling short 4-3. If Alabama does something similar tomorrow, I think Bama hangs on and they go to play Oklahoma in the semifinals.
Yeah, I think Alabama has shown they have to play with the lead. You're not going to catch. Now, Florida has the best offense. We haven't seen it yet. They've been shut down. One run.
The offense has been
home run.
Very quiet.
One
run in 2 games.
Are they due to
One run, 2
explode?
games.
Now, these two teams played in Alabama earlier this year. Was, I think, the conference series opener. Florida won 2 out of 3. Both teams are familiar with the pitchers, Rothrock and Beaver and Brisky there. Skylar Wallace, potentially her last game against her former team. You're looking for storylines there. I think Florida bounces back. I think Florida wins. I think Florida will scratch out enough runs with that offense. I can't imagine they're going to just get shut down 3 straight games. And I think Rothrock bounces back. I don't think Alabama can score. It wouldn't shock me, though. It went 14 innings because we're due for one of those, because that's what these Alabama teams do, is they play a bunch of 14-inning games. And, boy, I'll tell you, NBC executives won't be happy. Their nightly the news might get pushed back. I don't know what's going to happen there. But I don't think it matters. I don't believe either team can touch Oklahoma. I think Florida has the firepower to stay with Oklahoma, but I don't believe either team can beat Oklahoma on Monday. I kind of like Oklahoma. Again, I don't know how this worked out, but Oklahoma's gotten the better draw here. Like, Texas, to me, has still a tougher road playing the winner of UCLA Stanford. It's kind of fascinating that's kind of how it's worked out.
Exactly. And that's why, if you're Oklahoma, you have the luxury of, again, if it's I would throw Kelly Maxwell no matter what. Because
I'm like you. I like to throw my ace, get it over with early. But as some people in the chat,
play with your food.
Historically, though, Patty Gasso has gone to Nicole May in this situation.
And remember, Eric, remember, I believe it was, and please correct me if I'm wrong, was it in 20 when they played UCLA in the semifinal? They pitched Nicole May, UCLA got to her, forced the F game, and Oklahoma just destroyed the Bruins.
Jordy Ball then pitched the last game. Yeah, Jordy. You know, right. Yep, that's what happened. I think, don't be surprised, too, that I think depending on the matchup, too, I think Deal could be in play to start. Lefty against lefty hitter. Especially against those Florida, especially if it's
earlier tonight.
Against the Florida hitters. By the way, Jocelyn Erickson, former Sooner, who's had an amazing year. So there's some storylines within this SEC. But I'm going to go with Florida. I think it's Florida going to win. I don't like this Stanford UCLA game's tough, man. I think UCLA's the better team, but I don't feel comfortable picking against Najee Kennedy. Do you?
Do you think I'm not confident in UCLA beating Stanford 4 times.
Me neither. I agree. I agree. I agree completely. Oh, my goodness. So we'll see. Sunday, 3 o'clock, ABC, Alabama, Florida. 7 o'clock, Stanford, UCLA. That's on the deuce because, God forbid, we got to carry Major League Baseball. Ooh,
Phillies and Cardinals, that's such a matchup.
Mid.
Phillies and the Cardinals are even good this year. They're horrible.
What
seriously?
What's the
Phillies and Cardinals
score? What's the hockey score here?
Still 1-0 Florida. Second. Right. They're
intermission.
Second intermission.
We tied it up. All right.
Second intermission.
On that note, we're gonna wrap it up here. Give you an hour post game. Check out D1 softball for all the latest coverage. We're gonna be back here, folks. We're gonna be back here Sunday nights after Stanford UCLA. We're gonna bring back the sequel to Jay versus Shelley at some point. Plus, we may have 1 or 2 more guests up our sleeve.
Actually, Eric, I can confirm one of our guests that we're going to be having. Let me play this out. Coming up on tomorrow's In the Circle Live, we will be joined by a friend of ours, Kaylin Arnold, who knows a thing or two about pitching in Oklahoma City. She'll be joining us to share her thoughts on the action on Sunday and our semifinal matchups that'll be taking place Monday in Oklahoma City. So Kaylin Arnold will be joining us on the live stream tomorrow evening.
And we will tell you about the podcast this week, what we're going to do, because it's a quirky week.
It's a quirky week, folks.
Yeah, so we'll let you know what our plans are tomorrow night. But it should be a lot of fun as we'll be down by the time we come back on the air here in about 24 hours. We'll be down to the Final Four.
Yes.
The World Series. And we'll see how that goes. And we know this. It'll be somebody from the SEC, somebody from the Pac-12, and 2 Big 12s. Who they are?
Yes.
We'll find out after Sunday's games. All right. Thanks to Karen Kumar, Miami of Ohio head coach, for joining us on this show. Thanks to Shelly Carlin and Jenna Becerra for joining us from Oklahoma City at the World Series. D1 softball coverage of the World Series like nobody else. Check it out. Jenna Becerra had a one-on-one with the Cat Osterman. Yeah, that Cat Osterman.
That Cat
on
Osterman.
The show there. So we'll have that. We'll break down the Final Four on Sunday. I might tell you about what to look for this week in the coaching carousel. Woo! The phone's it's starting to warm up. But, hockey comes first tonight. We'll get into that more on Sunday night. For Victor Anderson, I'm Eric Lopez for a great crew at D1 Softball. Thanks to all of you for coming in with the comments and questions. It was tremendous. We will hope to see you all Sunday night after Stanford UCLA for another edition of In the Circle live after dark.
Top Podcast is out. Talk to y'all tomorrow.